Shalom, everybody. My name is X-Gentile, also known as John Seals. Today, thanks for joining me today on the first day of the week, which is Sunday. Once again, my name is X-Gentile, also known as John Seals. I'm coming to you from the Yehudim Helping Hand Lee Summit, Missouri. This is today's program. I want to thank my teacher, Coheen Ranford Flemings, for all of his teachings and everything that he's done for everyone. Shalom, my brother. Today's teachings, I want to apologize for a couple things. My teachings, I'm trying to tell you people, I need to get back to the beginning, and I'm so sorry if I have been a little bit hardcore, because my teachings need to be basic enough for you to understand, and I don't think a lot of people are getting it. So I apologize for not getting back to the very beginning and the basic, which that's what this show I'm going to get into today and explain why that is. So it's very important that you understand right now, first and foremost, that we read from the Besorah of Yahusha. This is the only book mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's very important that you know that. That's first and foremost. We only read from this book. We know it to be proven. The Bible wishes it was this book. Trust me. And so do all the other books. You can test it yourselves and see for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't listen to me. Just go look for yourself. And you will see that this is the only book mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so today we're going to be talking about what is his name. That's part of the problem that I'm noticing going on. So today, just so you know about what we're going to be talking about is his name and the confusion, because I know most people don't even understand it, that he has a real name. So we'll be going into Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Hosea, and I have precepts to point that out. And his and his name is not to be used in a pagan form. We're going to get into that. And I want to really talk about, do you know him or have you met him? And what I mean by that is most people say they know him, or they know of him, or they've heard of him. They say they know of him, or they've heard of him. But most people, I don't think, have ever met him. Because if you had met him, you'd know how serious this was, and you'd be listening. And that's the problem with most people in the world and Gentiles. They don't want to give it up. And I only have witnessed very few people who have done that. So, so today, we can start learning what his name is. That's why I want to apologize for not making it clear, really, everyone needs to know what his name is. It's the most important thing is for you to start there, because how can you really proceed to anything beyond your walk or your journey if you don't even know his real name? So that's very important. And then I'll also be sharing a video of what social media is doing right now. And they've developed a patent that's kind of bizarre. You know, but like I said, today, we read from the Besorah, and that's just how it always is going to be here. It's never going to change. So you're going to learn what his name is, and the confusion is going to. Hopefully, I can make some clarity of it for you. So, first off, I want to start off on page 7. So if you have a Besorah, join me. If you do not, then I invite you to watch the screen and read along with us and follow along. I'm most certain that there are no books out there that tell you that have this in it. In case you were ever wondering how you are to pray, this is how you are to pray. It tells you right there. So being that said, let's bring the Father in today's teaching to start off with. And I thank everyone who joined me. And I hope the ones that are out there that you're in need, because time is short. And none of us know how much longer we have left here. So you might want to listen. But join me now as we raise our hands and lift our heads up to the heavens and raise our hands to the heavens, because we know that's where our Father is. This is a tradition. So join me now. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. For yours is the reign, and the power, and the esteem, now and forever. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you very much, Father, for everything you've done and you're doing and going to do. I just hope someone out there who has the Spirit is paying attention and watch. And the second thing that I want to apologize for is if there's any ambiguity about, I know I may have been a little harsh on saying you may not have the Spirit if you've been vaccinated. Look, y'all can do anything. And I'm not saying you don't have a chance, but being the case that they tried to concentrate it to eliminate they even said YHWH gene, to where you didn't have a conscience. That way you couldn't make a decision and listen to the good coming from the Spirit. And that's why I said that. But I still want you to understand that the power of our Father can do anything. So don't underestimate our Father. If you have our Father and you may have been vaccinated, you still might have a pretty good chance of living. It just depends on your belief. Didn't he not heal many people and do many things for many different types of things. So I apologize in case I might have scared somebody into thinking that they had no chance. And with that being said, let's get into the Basura today. It's very important, like I said, that you know his name, because most of you don't know him. Like I said, if you have ever met him, you would know how serious this is, and you know what's going on in this world, because he's given you eyes to see and ears to hear, and you know exactly what's happening. So we can only be thankful. You know, I'm telling you now, at a time that's painful, it's amazing how the Father can bring joy to each one of us, letting us know that he's there and going to do something. So, with that being said, let's dig into the main thing I want to talk about today. Like I showed you in this picture, you know, you can't say you know him, and you can't say you've even met him if you have not known his name and you like understand that his chosen people are. You got to know who to understand that as well. And you got to understand that they follow certain laws and commands given by Yahweh HWH in this time, in this book, showing what must be done, and they follow them. And given that and their obedience, that we're given favor to go to join them as co-heirs. But you got to be obedient. You can't be playing around. I know a lot of you don't understand that part, but right now we're entering that day and that time to where good and well that the people that were brought over here on ships, their time is over, and their generation is here now. And that's why things are happening the way they are, and there's no denying who those people are. And it's just, you might as well just come to terms with it, because if you're not happy with the it's in I was told once, if you're not happy with the way things are, here with Yah, how are you going to be happy with them over there? So if you ain't happy with the fact who the chosen people are because of their skin color, buddy, then you ain't going to be happy over there. So any of you out there who have issues like that, I feel for you and I pray for you dearly, because you're in a lot of trouble. So this message, I hope people start to understand how powerful this time is upon us, because it's moving in ways and at speeds that we have never seen. And like I said, today is this is not our time. This is not the Gentiles' time. The Gentiles need to be just like the most thankful people ever, if you ask me. Because if it wasn't for these people, we wouldn't have a chance. He'd have done whooped us and killed us. Because he doesn't like disobedience, and he doesn't like sin and filth. Why do you, if he just loved you, even if you sinned and everything, he wouldn't be a very, just father. He really wouldn't have much love for you. But anyways, the most important thing today, like I said, you've got to know who his name is. If you don't know what his name is, please, I just challenge you, anyone at this time, to go find out what his name is and why it's been hidden from you. Just to give you an example, this is what it looks like in Paleo Hebrew. You know, most people in English, we see it as YHWH. And I don't think people, and see, that's why YHWH. Like I said, Hebrews read from right to left. There's a lot of things that their lifestyle and the knowledge of this is so deep I can't even tell you. It's beyond me. It's another world, and that's why you must leave this one that Satan has developed and given us. That's why I came up with this picture. You know, you got to leave it. You know, you must leave the things here in this world. You gotta, if you really want to meet him and you want to know him, you're gonna have to give up everything in this world. There can't be anything here to tie you here. Look at what he did, you know, to Lot's wife. He turned her to salt because she looked back at these things like, oh, I'm gonna miss those. And so the people that are gonna want to miss these things and look back are probably not really worthy of the kingdom. But in order for you to know him, in order for you to ever meet him, you better know his name first. And that's why I apologize for not sticking with the basics here on this program. Because it's very important you understand what his name is. You cannot go any further. And I've been given some crazy teachings sometimes. Nothing like, you know, my teacher gives, but I'm telling you, I'm sorry for not sticking to the basics because you need to know his name. Without knowing his name, you really cannot proceed. You can't. Because who are you talking to? I'm serious. Seriously, really, who are you talking to if you're not using his name? And you may not know it. It's not your fault. See, that's the part that you don't understand. It's not your fault that you were tricked. You know, we were all tricked. Every one of us. It's not just a one person tricked type of thing. Every single one of us has been tricked. Just imagine if you were the chosen people, though, who came over on ships and they gave you a Bible and removed the name so you wouldn't recognize your father's real name. Imagine if you were them. So I don't want to get off into, I can go in a lot of directions and talk about a lot of things because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Trust me, this is serious business. And for anybody who takes this lightly in this day, I'm telling you, you're making a big mistake. This world's about to change on events like we've never seen. You know, I've been showing you what I think is coming up and about to happen here soon, you know, like in this picture. See all these countries right here, all these flags? They're all here right now. Apparently, there's, let's see, there's 32 countries with 20,000 people from each country here in Kansas City. And if something was to happen and they shut it down and lock it down, I'm not saying that's the case. But you see what day we're living into, that's how we have to think, because these people are doing, this world is fallen and our Father's coming and there's things are, you know, that's just how it is. And you must face that, period. So there's no time to argue about anything. We know how it is. And so, like I said, for the ones out there who've never heard things like this, I apologize for making some of the things I say very hard to hear and absorb, because it says a lot of things that are like for people who already have somewhat of an understanding like me, myself. And I know it's hard to reach out there and talk to people who don't really have any idea what's going on. But I know there's some of you out there who carry the Spirit, and where you're at, I don't know. But that's why it's important you pay attention in this day, in this age, because it might be you. So with that being said, I want you to all join me as I open up the Besorah. And if you have a Besorah, join me on page 14. I'm going to show you the Father's name. Look at this. This is in the Besorah. So you're not going to find any of this stuff. Let me back out of here. You're not going to find any of this stuff in any other books, because none of your other books have the courage to tell you the truth and where all this stuff comes from. In this book, there are things, in here before the scriptures and after the scriptures, and even in the middle of the scriptures, that say things and show you things that you can't find anywhere, to explain how this all works. Who took it out, who changed the letters, who developed, who put this book together, so it wouldn't be misinterpreted improperly. It was a Hebrew. He had to have been bloodline Hebrew, or they wouldn't allow it. You guys see it? Nobody knows none of that. And like I said, that's why this book is so important, because it tells you so many things that you're not aware of, because no other book deeper. Hold on, you guys. No other book gives you a deeper understanding of how it came to be. They don't explain themselves of who wrote this book and where it came from and why is it this way, and how did we get here. And I mean, this book, like I said, reveals all of it in itself, in its entirety. There's no ambiguity here, and that's why this book is one of the most important books you will ever read from in your entire life. That's why, I want to tell the people, like I say, all the people that hit me up from, overseas and different places like Kenya, and that you guys must read from this book. Don't, I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to give you something or help you. But the only thing I can do is show you how I learned how to have riches, in the heavens, and wealth, and let my Father take care and give me what I need here, so I can make it till I see Him. And that's this book. And that's why it's important you guys get this book at a free download at the HebrewStoreOnline.com. You can get this book for free. You don't have to pay for it. It's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, because there was only 144,000 copies originally. So let's get into this book. Page 14 in your Besorah. Look, we're going to read here the Father's name. It says here, now let's examine the pronunciation of the Father's name. See, most people don't even know His name. How can you talk to a man when you don't even know his name? Well, who are you talking to? You got to ask yourself that. You have no idea what has been done and how we've been tricked. And that's why it's called spelling. Why do you think these words? You took spelling in school so you could learn how to write the spellings, because it is what it says it is. Look, the first century of writer called Josephus tells us that the name consists of 4 vowels. Commonly, we see the name in encyclopedias as YHWH. Look, these vowel letters stand for the Hebrew letters. Look, Yod He, Yah He. And see, look, it says, you read over here, And it shows you this, but if you look over here in parentheses, how you pronounce it. Wah. Yod Hey. Wah Hey. The Yod is the same as our letter Y. The Hey is the same as the letter H. And the Wah is often represented as the W. But the double U, not W, the double U. But it is essentially the sound of OO, like ooh. The letter Hey appears as the second and fourth letter. Look, it's going to tell you more. Look, the Assyrians heard and transcribed the proper transliteration of our Father's name as Yahuwah. Look, having lived with the Israelites who had been taken into captivity by the Assyrians, their transliteration is then creditable. The state of Iowa is said to be based on the name handed down through the Native Americans. These tribes were remnants of the explorers sent by Solomon to establish colonies and mine copper, tin, silver, iron, and gold. You see that? I bet you didn't know none of that. The Iowa, like Yahuwah. See that it was based on the name handed down through the Native Americans, because they're part of the 12 tribes. Because there are 12 tribes here. And that's what all this is about. Look, concerning Josephus, the first century historian, we read in his book, Josephus' Complete Works, page 556, that he had observed the priestly headpiece. And on this headpiece, the Father's name consisted of 4 vowels. Look, the first 2 vowel letters are Yod Hey, and according to Strong's number H3050, it is pronounced as Yah. We find an example of this shortened, poetic form of Yahuwah's in Psalms 68:4. And we can see these letters are vowels even as they are used in English. When we say Y, we can hear the I sound. When we pronounce the H, we can hear the A sound. And because the H is silent, as seen with Sarah. Now we have come to the 3rd vowel letter, Wa. The Wa is the vowel letter sound U. It is not pronounced as the constant W, since the Hebrew Aleph Beth does not have a letter to correspond to our W. The letter W was first appeared in the 13th century. It should not be thought of as a double anything. It is simply a U. So now we have 2 syllables, Yah plus U. The 4th letter of the name is the vowel letter Hey. And look here. Some believe that the ending of Yahuwah's name has an Ah, and others I. But the tribe of Yehuda gives us a significant clue. The name Yehuda is spelled Yad-He Uah Daleth-He. If we remove the Daleth, which is a D, we find the 4 letters Yad-He Uah-He. So, see, I think a lot of you don't understand how his name came to be. It's very important how you see here. They're showing you where it comes from. There's no ambiguity here. It's crystal clear who these, how his name is pronounced and what it is. And the people who use it. Look, the tribe of Yehuda, it says, gives us a significant clue. And it says it right there. Yehuda is spelled Yad-He Uah Daleth-He. And if we remove the Daleth, which is a D, we find the 4 letters. That's right. The Father's name in there. Look, let's keep reading. See, look at that. Yehuda minus the D equals Yahuwah. Is it possible to find this truth in the Greek? Well, let's find out. Look, Josephus. He was from 37 to 101, he was a Yehudi historian and confirms that our Father's name consisted of Greek vowels such as you see here, I, A, O, U, and E, with the UA having the U sound, which agrees with the Assyrian pronunciation, Yahuwah, and is pronounced Yahuwah. See, I mean, it'll tell you, like, if you want to find out how accurate it is, and you want to correspond to some of these things, that it shows you in here where it comes from. You can check it, and I'm telling you now, you're gonna get it handed to you. This book is that accurate. This is not a joke here. This is not a game. Look at this. The Strong's number H3068 renders Yahuwah's name as Yehovah, which is inaccurate. Do you see that? Inaccurate. Yehovah is inaccurate. Checking word H3050, we find that his shortened poetic name, Yah, refers us right back to H3068, which they rendered as Yeh and Yah is correct. Yeh is incorrect. The Yeh spelling is a result of the Masoretes, who used alternative vowels from another word, Adonai, in order to keep the name of Yahuwah concealed from the masses, thus perpetuating the ban of pronouncing the name aloud. The vowel pointing by the Masoretes cannot be trusted because of their intention to hide the name of our Father, YHWH, Yahuwah. The vowels used were intended to direct the reader to say Adonai instead of what was written. It was to cue the reader to not pronounce the name. In the name Yahusha, Yah was changed to Yeh, which hides the connection with the name of the Father. Exodus 23:21. Look, you see how they take that and they change the names. This is how it's showing you how they diluted things and changed things and it went from, it started out one way and then it went to another and then it's going to another, and it's so diluted now. Everyone is so far from knowing who he is because you don't know his real name. Look, let's keep reading. For further confirmation, we read in Clement of Alexandria, the Stramata, verse 6, the mystic name of the four letters which was affixed to those alone to whom the idiom was accessible. It is called the AIOUE, which is interpreted who is and shall be. IAOE. I guess that's how they would pronounce it if you was to say it. So then, how does this AI, I am fit into our understanding of the Father's name? At Exodus 3:14, we read, Aa, Asher, Aa, and he said, this shall you say to the children of Yisrael, Aa has sent me to you. Aa, Asher, Aa means I am that which I am, or I was. I am and I will be. See, look here. When the Father spoke, Aa, Asher, Aa, he was speaking of himself in the first person because only he could say, I am. Whereas when he reveals to his people that his name is Yahuwah, he is speaking in the third person. Right here, YHWH, Yahuwah is the name we are to know, declare, and worship. He identifies himself exclusively by this one name. And that's why it's important you understand this. I know you probably are bored. And you probably, not many of you like this. I'm sorry. But you got to understand, if you don't read this and if you don't like this right here, then what business do you got doing wanting to travel to the kingdom? I mean, because these are the things you're going to like and be doing and wanting over there. So you really need to pay attention to this, and you need to get an understanding. If you're a beginner at this and you don't understand it, you need to start right here. You know, if you're somebody that's been doing this, or you might think you might be bloodline, I ask you to go on over to Ranford Fleming's and watch his programs. You know, like I said, I'm a conduit too, but I'm no Kohen or Moray. I am an X-Gentile, and you need to be an X-Gentile as well. You don't need to be a Gentile anymore, or you're going to die. And you're going to go down in this world because you really want to declare what the world has given you is worth fighting for and fighting your life for, and saying these are the things that I wanted and desired. I mean, seriously. Look, let's keep reading. Yahusha clearly tells us in John 17:26 that he had declared his Father's name to the people. And since we are Yahusha's body, we are to do the same. Colossians 1:18. How foolish to think that the head, Yahusha, would call his Father Yahuwah, but his body, us, would call out our Father, Lord, God, or Jehovah. Makes no sense, does it? Now again, how can Yahuwah's name be Jehovah and the Son's name be Jesus, since there is no J in Hebrew? You understand that? So since I give you that, let me go to page 671 real quick. We'll come back to this. And I want to give you a precept. You might have heard it yesterday. I know I did. Check this out. Let's go to Hosea 2:16, page 671. Look, and it shall be. That means it's going to happen no matter what, in that day. And what days are we living in? Those days. That means that this is the day. This is that day. Declares Yah, YHWH, that you call me my husband and no longer call me Baal. 17, and I shall remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And what are the names of the Baals? Look, let's go back to page 15. Let's go back to page 15. The names of the Baals is right here. Yeah, Lord, God, or Jehovah, or Jesus. Those are the names that you shouldn't be using. And look, I know a lot of people are not going to like that part, but really that's where I have to pinpoint the problem, because like I said, once again, and I'll always say it, how can you ask somebody for something if you don't even know? I know you can beg and ask strangers for things and receive, but really, how can you say you know somebody? So if you are a stranger and you're asking somebody for something and you don't know their name, that's one thing. But he has a name, and if you want to meet him and want to know him, you must know his name. Because if you don't, then you are just a stranger begging and asking for a free handout. Just help me, please. And you're not getting anywhere because you don't know his name. You don't really understand why it's not working, because these names, these pagan names, only have earthly power. And it only has earthly power because everyone knows these names. When these names are mentioned to people in the world, they say, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. Or I've heard of that. You feel me? So you can't say you met him. You have not. And 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 so that's why the world uses these names. And it's very important that you don't use these names. That's why it's telling you here. Since there is no J in Hebrew, his name couldn't have been Jesus. Look, the Apostle John is really Yohanan. At John 5:43, Yahusha tells us that he came in his Father's name. He came in the authority of Yahuwah and carries his name in his own. See, look at that. Let's keep reading. Look, page 16. Jeremiah 23:25 through 27 tells us that lies have caused Yahuwah's people to forget his name for Baal, the Lord. I just read to you, we shall not, Lord is Baal in Hebrew. And that's why I said his people call him in this day. That's why it's happening now. Do you not see it? How can you guys not see what people are showing you with stuff like this and what's going on in this world? How can you not recognize what's going on? Look, these lies have been propagated through the leadership in both Judaism and Christianity. Let me repeat that. These lies, what lies? The lies when they took those people from the ships and gave them the biblos, then took his name out 7,000 times, which I've read to you in this book earlier. We can go back and read it again now. It shows how many times it took it out. It tells you that in this book. So when they did that and they took the chosen people out and gave them a book and changed the name, they gave them those names. And that's why it says these lies. because they lied to their people and tried to keep it hidden from them who they were. And white men had no idea. And like guppies on a cracker, they ate it. Look, these lies have been propagated through the leadership in both Judaism and Christianity. There you go. That's why the pagan names have been propagated through the leadership. The lies and the wrong names have been propagated through the leadership in both Judaism and Christianity. So your Jewish stuff and Christianity stuff, here's your Israel Judaism crap, and then here's your Catholics, people that left the Catholic Church, that recognized the Catholic Church was no good, became Christians because the Catholic recognized it and developed Christianity because they knew people were falling away. So they had to come up with this. Look, not only have Judaism and Christianity replaced the names of the Father and his Son, but they've even changed the original Paleo-Hebrew names of the prophets in order to conceal Yahuwah's name, because this name is embedded in the original names of several prophets. See, that's how rotten this world is, and shame on these people. The Catholic Church is a remnant of today's remnant of the ancient Chaldeans. You may not know that, but that's what it is. And the Catholics created Christianity and Islam and Judaism. I got to read that again. That's terrible. Not only have Judaism and Christianity replaced the names of the Father and his Son, but they've even changed the original Paleo-Hebrew names of the prophets in order to conceal Yah's name, because this name is embedded in the original names of several prophets that would reveal for the Father's real name. See, I bet most people don't even, if you asked any Christian if they knew that, they would say no. Look, an example of this is found in the name of the prophet known as Jeremiah. In Paleo-Hebrew, his name contains the shortened poetic form of the Father's name, Yah, and should have been transliterated as Yirmi Yahuwah. Yirmiyahu. See that? See any coordinates? Well, why'd you have to ask him that, Father? Because I bet they don't. I bet they don't see that. Notice that it ends with the Yah. The name Isaiah should be rendered as Yesha Yahu. Notice the ending, Ayah, in the two names. Clearly, these prophets would not recognize their own names as they are found in our modern day English scripture. See, that's sad. These people of old wouldn't even recognize their own names if they were to read the Bible. They'd be like, who's this? That's pretty sad. And y'all have been look, I was a Christian for 12 years, and I apologize for that too. But it protected me till I got here. The way I see it, it was a safe place for me to be and hang out until I made it here. Until I got here, and I'm here, and that's all I can be thankful for. Look, then it goes into the Son's name. I'm going to save that for next week, because you guys got to know what his names are. You're going to learn what the Father's name is if this kills you, literally. I hate to say it like that, but our Father don't play around. If he killed Moshe for not being obedient, he's definitely going to kill you for not wanting to even know his name. You should have a little bit of shame on yourself and need to go humble yourself and go ask yourself why you have not wanting to recognize our Father's real name and not want to say his real name. He has a real name, and there's only one. And I showed you, don't call him Baal. That means Lord in Hebrew. Trust me. If you don't believe me, go check and go look. So let me take you here. Just point you out. Let's go to 137 real quick. I ain't done yet. Let's go to page 137, 31:6. Let's see. Yeah, 31:6 because I actually want to read on 31. I want to show you right here, 31:18. But I want to read a little bit to you. Uh-huh. So that's why I wrote down, don't cut it too short on Johnny, because someone might need to hear some of this. Look, page 137, Shemoth, which is Exodus. If you got a Bible, you can follow along, but you're going to be missing stuff. Sorry. That's just how it is. That's why you need to get out of that and come to the real writings, how it was intended for these people. I read to you last week or the week before how these words haven't been interpreted since 250 BC. Not like this. Not like this. So you need to get this book because it was given to Daniel to be hidden and given to us to be revealed. You don't understand this. Let's start here. Page 137, Shemoth, Exodus 31:6. And look, I have appointed with him Oholiab, son of Ahishamach, of the tribe of Dan, one of the 12 tribes. And I have put wisdom in the hearts of everyone who is wise-hearted, and they shall make all that I have commanded you. 7. The tent of meeting and the ark of the witness and the lid of the atonement that is on it, and all the utensils of the tent. 8. And the table and its utensils, and the clean gold lampstand with all its utensils, and the altar of incense. 9. And the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, and the basin and its stand, and the 10. And the woven garments, and the set apart garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons for serving as priests. 11. And the anointing oil and sweet incense for the set apart place. Praise Yah. If you know anything about that stuff, you understand how important that is. According to all that I have commanded you, they are to do. Not a request, people. 12. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe. 13. And you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, not some, by all means. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahuwah, am setting you apart. Wow. Look at this, 14. And you shall guard the Sabbath, for it is set apart to you. You see that? You better guard the Sabbath. It's set apart to you. And listen, everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death. Okay, I told you we were going to die. You asked me if our Father, our God wouldn't do that. Wrong. Like I said, he killed Moshe for hitting the rock, not being obedient. He was being angry. He didn't have love for the Father in his heart at that moment. And he paid a price. And he loved Moshe. So don't think our Father don't play games. This is not a joke. You're going to die gruesomely. For anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from among his people. So if you work on the Shabbat from evening to evening, on Friday to Saturday, you're going to pay. Because you're not worthy to recognize this day here now. Why do you want? What makes you think you're going to go over there and do it over there? I'll do it when I get there, because I'm playing down here and sinning down here. But I'll do it when I get there. That's wrong. And you're not showing him love or his desire. So you might be in some trouble. Look, 15. 6 days work is done, and on the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest. What does it say? Of what? Rest. It doesn't say go out and do something that you might want to do. Don't go riding no motorcycles, and don't go do no paddle boarding. Don't be going out and taking your kids, to soccer games. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's set apart. You can't be doing none of that. I know that's a hard one. All of you will fail mostly right there on that simple one alone, because if you're really Gentile, if you're really genty, that means Gentile. If you're really genty, and I'm sorry for laughing because it's not funny. I used to do it too, taking my kids on the Saturdays to games and stuff and doing all. You're living in the world. And I know most of you won't make it past that. How many of you can say you'll give up that? Not many. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing anything. This is a day of rest. It's set apart. It's given to you by Yah. And if you disrespect it, what did he say? You will die. Look at this. 15. 6 days work is done, and on the seventh is Sabbath of rest, set apart to Yah, Yahuwah, YHWH, Elohim. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. I didn't say that. Trust me, I would give you a little bit of a break. I'd say, some serious punishment, but he says death. And I know none of you take that serious. You think it's a joke. Look, 16. Well, you're going to see when we get over there, because it's going to be a different ballgame when we get on the other side. I know you don't like it when I say that. Look, 16. And the children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath. That's right. They do. They're showing Gentiles how to do it right now. If you ain't noticed, stuff is happening, and then they're waking up and doing this stuff. I'm observing and participating. Look, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant. That means forever. It's not, they have to do this. That's something most of you Gentiles don't understand. That they have to. This covenant was given to them, and they're gonna do this. And you can either love and respect it and watch them and learn, or you can say, I'll take this world and go down to the pit. I'd rather have that. Because if you don't like what they're doing here now, you're not going to like what they're doing over there later. And that's why I know you don't know him. You ain't never met him. Because if you did, you know that. And I'm sorry. It's like it is. But it's for the best. If you believe and trust in Yah, you'll understand. It's for the best. It's not for the worst. It has to get worse, but it's for the best. 17. Between me and the children of Israel, it is a sign forever. See, that means it's forever. They're going to do that. If you know any of these chosen people, And you know who the chosen people are that came over from ships, and they recognize his word in this day because it was hidden from them because they gave them a Bible. Then they're teaching you. Listen to them, okay? Do yourself a favor and listen to them. I'm telling you right now, it'll be the best thing you ever did, because it's not for you or them. It's for Yah. And if you want favor, then you better listen to Yah, and you better understand that, and you better start fearing him. Because like I said, he said right there, he'll kill you. Look, for in 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. See, he was refreshed by resting. He was ready to go. That's why it's important to rest. Look, 18. And when he had ended up speaking with him on Mount Sinai, this is the precept I wanted to give you. Look, what we've been talking about today. He gave Moshe 2 tablets of the witness, tablets of stone, written with the finger of Elohim. And if you don't understand that, maybe I'll get into it sometime. Maybe you should ask some of your Hebrew brothers to explain this to you, how Moshe was Elohim, and Elohim used his finger to write it. You don't understand none of that. But I don't want to get into stuff like that. Those are like Hebrew teachings they need to give you. My job here is to teach you his name. And you need to learn his name before you can even pass this spot. You can't go over there thinking that you know him when you don't know his name. Most of you don't know his name. I see it on my stuff. All right, real quick, let's one more. I got one more for you. Let's go to page 246. We're going to go to Debrim, which is Deuteronomy 9:10. And look at that. Here it is again. When I went up to the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant, which Yahuwah, YHWH, made with you. Then I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, and I did not eat bread nor drink water. Look at this. 10. Then Yahuwah, YHWH, gave me the 2 tablets of stone written with the finger of Elohim, and on them were all the words which Yahuwah had spoken to you on the mountain from the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And see, most of you don't understand this and know this, but this is how he got his name on the tablets. He wrote it with the finger of Elohim, wrote his name on the commandments, and you must learn the name. I'm sorry if it was boring for most of my people that have been watching lately, but I had to get back to basics. I apologize. Only if you understood how important it is for people to know his name, because most people out there that are hurting are praying and asking for favor and trying to find their way out, and they want to leave, but they don't even know his name, and so they're struggling, and they need to know where to go. And like I say, today's program is just that. I know there are some that are doing this, leaving everything behind and doing it, but there are others out that you live on the other side, so you can't get over there where that is. You can't get to that point of leaving things behind because you don't have this. You must have this book. This book is the book that's going to lead you and guide you, because Yah is the one who is in control right now, and he wants this book to be the book to be revealed in this day. I know a lot of people are going to struggle with this. I never ever thought in my life I'd be taking on the responsibility of going against the Bible and saying that this is the book to be listened to, not the Bible. Trust me, I did not know this is how it was going to be. But I'm here to make sure, just so you, because we're in this together. I was a Christian. I read from the Bible. But I'm telling you now, this is the book. Make no mistake about it. This is the book. But anyways, I want to thank everyone for joining me today on today's program. I hope you learned a little bit on how you need to get this book and read this book and understand what his real name is and where it came from. Because you people got to stop calling him Baal. He told you to don't call me Baal no more. You know, you need to know what his name is. What is his name? Do you know what his name is? Please, I ask you, what is his name? This is his name. YHWH. Once again, I thank you for joining me. I just want to thank everyone who is trying to make this walk, no matter who or where you are, what, as long as you are following the Father and being obedient and following the commands and doing what the Scripture says, I pray for you. You know, I can't really pray for the ones who aren't, because we're telling you right here, listen and get on board. And if you get on board, then yeah, I'll pray for you. I can pray for you all as a whole, that you better get it together. Because I'm telling you, we're running out of time. Time is getting short. So with that being said, I want to show you a video. I know things are getting crazy. Like I said, there's a lot going on here in Kansas City. We have a World Cup, you know, and they're going to use Christianity. They're using Satanism. Which way are you going to go? And who knows what's going to come out of all of this 30, you know, 2 countries with 20,000 people from each country here. You know, if something was to happen and lock this place down, this is what it would look like. I'm not saying that's going to happen by any means. But you got to look at the possibilities because of the evil we're dealing with in this day. That's the reason why I point these things out. Not to scare you, but just to be aware. So it's very important that you pay attention to some of these things and see and recognize some of these things that are happening. You know, there are a lot of crazy things. And once again, like I said, like and follow on Instagram if you don't mind. That way, the more people I get likes, the more I'll be able to go live on Rumble and Instagram as well. But with that being said, let me get to this video, and then I'll pray you all out. But the video I want to show you is right here. This is what some of your social media and stuff is doing. I just got one video today. I didn't want to get into too much because it was just weighing on me of how important it is for you to know his name. Because if you don't know his name, I don't know why you're even wasting your time with anything else. You're just not going to get anywhere until you break that barrier of using the false names and calling them Baal and accepting the fact that you are lied to and who the chosen people are. Until you get past that point of those, you're basically going to be stuck in this position to where you're headed for trial, and that means you're going to fall with this country when it goes down. You're not going to escape with the 144,000 and the very few that are following them. I'm serious. The window is narrow. There might be many in the end, but you all are going to go to trial, and that means fall with America. In case you didn't know what that meant, that's what it means. But watch this video.
Facebook was just granted one of the craziest patents I've ever heard. And this is so creepy. And it shows you where Facebook's head is. They have gotten a patent that can study your digital life. And basically, it can mimic you when you're dead. Yeah. It can figure out how you talk, your mannerisms, your behavior, your personality, how you respond to comments. So even after you're dead, it can interact as you, as a dead person. Experts warn this crosses a big red line. I mean, yeah. And again, Facebook could deny that this is what they want to do, but you can't lie about the patents you get. And you only get patents when you're thinking about doing something in the future. And these big companies like Facebook get these patents very quietly. They don't broadcast it, but this is what's happening in the background. And speaking of scams, this is exactly how scams grow. If I die and they have information about me, you may not know I'm dead. Maybe we're just an acquaintance. They're going to pretend to be me to other people long after I'm dead and can protect myself. And you may give, hey, my old buddy from high school is trying to get information from me, and you could fall for it. Very, very scary. I'm going to stay on top of that.
Well, there you have it. Pretty wild. I know it. But like I was saying, it's not going to be, I've already seen cases where AI, I didn't have the video on deck of where AI was using the parents' voice to call the kids and talk to the kids without the parents knowing. I mean, like I said, this stuff is getting out of hand, and all I know is you guys better be ready, and you better be starting to prepare. I was talking about that here not too long ago. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Are you prepared spiritually and physically? If you're not prepared spiritually, don't go no further. But if you are, then physically, are you prepared? Do you have like food and water and a place to go to? Things like that. If you don't, then you might be in trouble. But anyways, with that being said, I want to open up the Basora and we'll pray this out. So go back to page 7 if you have a Basora. Repeat after me. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. For yours is the reign, and the power, and the esteem, now and forever. Amen. Hallelujah. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. But first and foremost, I gotta give proper thanks and end this thing right. I just want to thank Yah and give him esteem for everything that he's done with everybody at this time and this moment. None of us deserve really anything. And you need to understand what Yah is trying to do is so magnificent, and you need to let him use you in this day. And you need to, not everybody is teachers. But there's a lot of followers out there, and more of you need to start following. It's very important everyone just pays attention, because and everyone needs to be one spirit. It's very important that we are all one spirit. We listen to Yah and we follow Yah. We're going to obey his laws and commands no matter what. There is only one spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. So it's important that you all are on board and pay attention, and you get into this book, because this book is the only book mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And once again, I just want to give a shout out and a thanks to, my teacher, Ranton Flemings, also known as Kohen. That means teacher. He has great teachings. If you're already past these beginner levels, this is who you must go see. You don't want to come here. you know, unless you're bored, you ain't got nothing better to do. But, and I appreciate you. But for all you people out there who are Gentiles, you know, you need to be careful, because you really shouldn't be approaching, you know, these people, because these people are set apart and you're not, and you don't understand how you're going to clash like anything you've never seen before. So it's very important that you respect who these people are in this day, in this age, and you need to find a way to ease into this thing. And like I said, you got to start at the beginning, and most of you don't even know his name. And that's why it's very important that you learn his name, because without you knowing his name, why are you even asking for forgiveness? Why are you repenting? Who you're repenting to? Because you're not repenting to the Father that created everything if you're using the wrong names. I mean, seriously, I bet there are 6-year-old kids that are thinking, what is his name? He has to have a name. That can't be right. Sorry about that. But you feel what I'm saying? Anyways, with that being said, I appreciate everybody for coming, but it's very important that most of you all learn and know his name, because you're never going to get anywhere unless you get past that. And then you're just getting started. There is way more. Like, you must accept the fact that his chosen people came over here on ships and were lied to and given a Bible and the names taken out so they wouldn't know who their real father, or the father's real name was either. And you got to respect them for coming alive today and giving you this message. Because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have no chance of making it in. None of us would. We would all burn. And so it's very important you understand this, because I know it's hard to say that word, but those JEWISH people are imposters. They're not real. They're not the real people. You just got to look into it for yourself. The information's everywhere. You just have to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, which only the Father can give you. Well, anyways, with that being said, everyone, I appreciate you. And we'll see you next week. I appreciate every one of you for coming. And sorry I was late today. I had a few things going on. But anyways, I could come on at 12. My starting time is 12 to 1. So once again, my name is X-Gentile. And I thank everyone for coming, also known as John Seals. I'm from the Yehudim Helping Hand Lee Summit. So please, learn what his name is and be set apart. If you've made it past what his name is, please be set apart. I thank every one of you, and I love every one of you. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom, everybody. One spirit. Shalom.